This is the Horse Radio Network.
Hey, you're listening to Adulting with Horses, the best place to be if you can't be at the barn. We are your co-hosts and equine authors, Heather Wallace and Natalie Keller-Reinert. As crazy horse girls, we don't take ourselves too seriously in the saddle or out. We celebrate the things that make us different. Join us as we talk about horses and pop culture and get a little weird in a fun way. Thank you for being a little weird with us. So the other day in the Timid Riders community, I posted a poll. And the poll was like, what are you most nervous about? Right? Okay. And I guess, you know me, it was the same thing with like the snow versus flies and the would you rather. My brain is like, okay, what are all the things that make me nervous? I'm just going to list them. And it was like competition, jumping, trail rides, riding a new horse, falling off, XYZ. And so today in advance for our recording, I posted it to the community, to the clubhouse. And I was like, oh, this is what people have said. And everybody agrees it's the fear of falling off. And Jamie Jennings from the Horse Radio Network was like, well, isn't that like the result of all of those things? Like people are afraid of falling off as a result of jumping, competition.
Yes.
You know, trail rides, etc. And I was like, okay, that makes a good point. But in my brain, I'm like, I'm not really afraid of falling off.
Oh.
So, yeah.
What are you afraid of?
And there's maybe many reasons for this. But I was like, oh, I didn't think it was like that was the core theme. But then I realized, well, maybe that is for most people, and I'm just a weirdo.
I think yeah, maybe you are and maybe you aren't, because I have encountered people before that say, well, I'm happy to jump 2 feet. I'm afraid to jump 4 feet. And I say, what's the difference between, once you're jumping, it's just more airtime, right? That's literally the difference between 2 feet and 4 feet is you're in the air longer. And no one ever really answers me satisfactorily, just like, it's scary, I would die. So I assume that's a fear of falling off, which I don't know why you would fall off if your horse jumps. So then your real fear is your horse refusing to jump, I think. If we really boil it down, your horse refusing and you going over their shoulder, because you don't usually fall off if the horse jumps the fence, right? Like,
not if you do it right.
And nobody said, I think you should jump 4 feet without learning to jump 3 feet first. They just say, I will never do it. And to that I reply, why? Why not learn to do it? It's no different to me.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was really interesting because, I mean, and for years I was afraid of falling, right? You know, especially coming back as an adult. That was my biggest fear because I didn't want to get hurt and I had my small children. And my worst nightmare was falling and getting hurt and being unable to take care of them. But then it happened and it wasn't as bad as I thought. And it's a funny story. I won't go into like ridiculous detail, but let's just say I goosed my horse. He bucked pretty big. I Superman'd, woke up to him sniffling me, you know, with like 6 inches of dirt on my boots, and my kid running up to me. And I'm thinking, oh my God, first of all, I can't breathe. Is anything broken? I don't even know what's happening. And my daughter's running at me and I'm thinking, I have traumatized this child for life. And that little brat goes, oh my God, Mom, I found gum in the car. Can I have a piece? And I realized the only person I was traumatizing was potentially myself.
Oh, you know why? Because children still don't know bad things can happen, right?
Well, I think that's what it is.
Until something gives them that knowledge, until somebody's in the hospital or they've attended their first funeral, they don't really know how that works. So they fall down and you say, hop up, you're fine. And you dust them off and send them back to play. So that's their expectation of you up until the point where you don't hop up and you say, honey, remember 911? We're going to try that now.
Well, and it's funny, yeah, because you have a good point. When I was a child, I had nerves. Like I have just anxiety about a lot of things having to do with horses. Hence why I'd said, I have nerves about jumping in general. I think it's fun to a certain point. I have nerves about going on trail rides. I love them. They're my favorite, but they make me nervous. I have nerves of all these things, but I never as a kid had nerves about falling off because it just wasn't reality. I figured, it wasn't even actually on my radar. I was like, well, I'll just get up if dust myself off or I'll bounce. I don't bounce anymore. Yeah. But I can still say, like, even though most people are afraid of falling, I don't think for me that's my button. I don't think that's the core result of why I'm a timid rider.
That's interesting. My fear is strictly falling off. I'm not, I hate falling off. I think it sucks. I've never had a really bad fall.
That's awesome.
I mean, I've had nasty falls, I would say, but I've never been carted off. I've never gone to the doctor.
Oh, no, me neither.
I've never, I've just like gone, oh, that was really ugly. Oh, that is a bruise covering most of my left half of my body. I've shown off that bruise to horrified colleagues at civilian workplaces.
Battle wounds.
Had to. And I hate falling off. But and my fear of falling off is specific generally to big surprises, like a big spook. Because I can accept it if I'm going to jump a fence and we were to come into it wrong and I screw up and go over. I can accept that. That sucks. I'll get back on. I hate being surprised in all ways forever.
You really do hate surprises.
I can't. I get nervous when my phone rings. I can't stand surprises. And spooking falls under that for me. So my number one headspace fear of horses in general is I hate spooking and the inability to prepare myself properly.
Yes. Wait, no, I love this. So no, because I want to follow this tangent because I think for a lot of people we think it's the fear of falling, but I think there's something deeper there that I want to address because for you it sounds like spooking and surprises that result in falling is your thing, right? So, I mean, you don't love a spook, but a spook into a fall is like the worst case scenario, right? Because you don't like surprises.
I can handle.
So surprises make you the most nervous.
Yeah.
Right? But you don't get on thinking, oh, I'm going to fall today, right? Like you get on, you're like, hopefully there's no surprises.
Right. I get on with everything in place to sort of mitigate that possibility. Where I ride, when I ride, what I wear when I ride.
And I want to go into detail about that in the next segment for sure, because I think that's really important to talk about. Well, and one thing I realized, especially after I had that fall, which that one did put me, the next day I did end up going to get checked out of the hospital and I did have a couple broken ribs, but I was back on in 2 weeks and that was the only fall I ever had that resulted in like an injury besides a bruise. But I will say too that I have like a tendency, I fall about once every 2 years. It's like a timeline.
Yeah, I've noticed that something similar about myself. And do you feel better after you've fallen, like you've gotten it out of the way?
Yes, because now I know it's not going to happen for a while.
I'm exactly the same way. Once I've fallen off, I'm like, oh, thank God that's out.
Right? It's like you got it out of the way. Now you don't have this ticking time bomb over your head of like, it's been really good up until now. I wonder when the hammer is going to drop. Exactly. And I will say, actually, quick, funny story. My worst fall, I wasn't even on the horse. So my worst fall that actually hurt the most, I was trying to get on my pony and he was in a kid's saddle and I was showing off a little bit. So I didn't use the stirrups. and I swung my leg over his back, and my leg got stuck because I'm not graceful. And then I was like, how do we backtrack this one without pulling a groin muscle? And so I tried to pull my leg back over and reset, and I fell backwards, landing on the mounting block, and I had a giant, I'm talking a head-shaped bruise on my ass for like 3 weeks.
Oh my God.
I couldn't sit. And I did this in front of people.
Oh, the pony, you're like, I'm a badass. Watch me.
The pony just stood there. He was like, she does it to herself, people. And I kid you not, like actually the last time I fell off of him, it was less similar. I tried to get on him bareback and I overshot him. My balance was not centered and I literally did a header off the other side. And he just stood there.
You have a tremendous amount of power in your body that I can't even
but no balance.
I can't even get up to their withers. I have a pony.
And you're taller than I am, so really there's no excuse.
I'm just a mess. What can I say?
No, we're all messes. But all right. So but getting back to like that core fear of falling, because I can fall. I'm amazing at falling. Like I was a dancer. I know that I'm not physically fit anymore, but like, I know, keep an eye on your horse, use your shoulder, tuck and roll away, all that stuff. I've even like landed on my feet. Like generally speaking, I'll land like a turtle. It's not great, but I know how to fall. What I'm like, I think for me, the thing that makes me most nervous when it comes to all of these different things is not being in control.
Okay.
So like if my horse were to spook, if my horse were to take off after another horse, if, we're jumping and we come in wrong and I can't get my balance, like for me, the thing I really struggle with is like letting go and just letting it happen.
Yeah. And I don't think that's certainly not a natural response. And it's not what we're taught as horse people either. We're taught that we are in control and we should never cede control. And when you talk about like your horse taking off with a group of other horses, I learned to save my skin at the racetrack. And I still, to this day, if a bunch of horses take off, I dismount. I don't wait for the trouble. I learned that, from riding babies at the track. It was like, is there a loose horse? All right, we're all on the ground because we're riding, in these flat saddles, and basically riding a rear is about the most dangerous thing you can do in an exercise saddle. And what do baby racehorses all do when they want to take off and you tell them no? They go straight up on their hind legs. So we just dismount. If you're in a safe place and the siren goes off, just hop off and wait that out, and so I still do it. And people have done it at like boarding stables. Somebody gets dumped and their horse takes off. I'm on the ground. Natalie, what are you doing? Just catch the horse, okay? Like, I don't have time for this kind of trouble. I plan ahead, right? I stay in control by getting on the ground where I am in control. And I always feel, some people feel more in control in the saddle, and I feel more in control on the ground.
I agree. I'm the same way as you. And I think setting yourself up for success, like you were saying, like taking the things you've learned. I recently went to a competition. Actually, I went to a football game. They're terrible. My daughter's game that she cheers for, because they can't take a hit. They don't know how to fall, right? And I was like, well, does anyone train them how to fall? Because like I know, I went to my trainer and I said, you need to teach me how to dismount as an emergency dismount. You need to teach me how to fall. I need to know these things so that I can prepare myself if that happens. I know that I can handle it. I have that confidence in myself that I can handle it.
Did you do that as an adult or as a teen?
Actually, as an adult, because as a teen, I wasn't scared of anything.
I remember emergency dismount being part of our lessons when I was a teen at the Mad Eventing Barn that I've told you about, where it was just like somebody would just shout dismount and you'd be cancerate and just be like fling yourself off your horse, and that was, everybody cheered. Maybe they were doing that for entertainment value and that wasn't actually educational, now that I think about it. But
it's like, what is it? The chair game where musical chairs.
Kind of, just on a galloping horse. But we didn't break,
That's
so like you said. but I don't fall properly now at all. Hence,
How do you fall? Like how,
however,
like physically, like do you have a
I
pattern?
usually flail a great deal. I typically land on a hip. My hips hurt all the time anyway, so what's a little more? And I usually try desperately until the last moment to hold on to the reins. And I've given myself some extraordinary bruising that way by having the reins wrap around my arm. So I
Ooh,
would,
you can risk getting dragged that
yeah,
way.
I would say I'm a bad faller at this point. Maybe I was capable of it at one point, but now I'm pure instinct, and my instinct is flail and hang on.
Yeah, I think like I said, my tendency, like I know how to fall, but my tendency, I usually fall to the left because I'm imbalanced that direction, right?
Okay.
And if I know what to expect, like for example, I had to jump off a rearing horse and I knew that he was going to rear. And so I used his body to like push me farther back.
Yeah.
But then I overestimated it as I tend to do. And I landed on my back. Like I do tend to land on my back, but I always protect my head. So I land like lumbar first.
So you like
And that
launch
doesn't do, my hips
yourself
hate me.
off the horse like you're pushing off a rock face so that you won't splinter on the crags. You want to be far away from the cliff.
I want to
that
be
right?
far from the hooves. Like that's all I want because and I will say, I think this is an end result and not something I'd planned, but my horses stop if I fall off them. Like it's automatic for them. So I'm not super worried about getting stepped on from my own horses like I would be for a horse I didn't know. But we've worked on a lot of like mirroring exercises that we've talked about before. So if I stop, they stop. And it's actually been pretty effective. And I'm hoping it saves my life one day on a trail because we both know, I'm probably about a year out from falling.
Okay.
So
I think I might be really
the
close,
timeline's ticking.
actually. Yeah, I'm going to ride on soft ground for the next few weeks, just in case we stirred up any trouble.
Maybe just play.
Maybe,
Maybe just play it safe.
yeah, maybe I'll wear some
Or
extra
practice.
clothes. Maybe I'll put on like a fleece vest and then maybe a coat, like a down coat, sort of simulate an air vest. That would work, right? Plus, I'll lose water weight.
It could work. You could sweat it all out. So let's talk about maybe things we can do to help that fear of falling, right? Like what would set you up for success if a fall should occur? Or like what do you think would help you?
Well, for me, confidence speaking, I prevent the fall by not allowing the fall to enter my mind, right? Because we've already established
Denial.
I'm bad at falling. I wear a very nice helmet, so I feel fairly confident that I will not destroy all of my faculties in a fall. But I would rather just prevent it, right? And so sticky pants are my number one priority. I buy silicone patterned full seats. I don't ride in knee patches. I have on occasion ridden in a pair of leggings, but I have since stopped doing that because of my neighbors
Those are pretty
being
slippery.
weird and my horse not liking my neighbors, which is understandable. I don't like them either. So sticky pants and deep-seated saddles are my best friends when it comes to just sort of putting myself in the right headspace where if something goes wrong, I'm probably not going to go sailing.
Fear of falling is what makes you nervous. You have these plans to take him eventing and you know he's probably going to be a little squiffy.
Yep.
And you're going to like work towards that. And I think that's the thing is like,
it's all in
we
the
can't be afraid of it.
Right.
Right.
For me, it's
set
like,
yourself up for success.
Yeah. What saddle am I going to have in place? I'm going to use a running martingale. I'm going to, I'll be wearing a vest and a hat, and he's not that tall. And so all of those things add up to when he does eventually get me on the ground, I will be padded. I will have a delay because all of the blocks in my future saddle will have held me in for as long as possible. I will have a neck strap and a martingale to hang on to. And so, and the fact that he's about 14 hands means that it's not that far. And that makes a difference. Every time I've fallen off of him, I've thought that could have been worse because he's a foot shorter than the average horse that I would ride. That makes a difference, you know?
It does, but I have to say, like, because I've got a 14-2 and a 16-2, right? And I've fallen off both, right? And here's the difference that I've found. With the 14-2, you're on the ground before you know what's happening.
Yeah.
With a 16-2, you got a little airtime to think about, okay, that's a tree, let's avoid it, right? And roll or whatever.
Right. So going back to how I fall versus your planning period, we may have hit a significant problem with any potential planning I might do, which is that, oops, I'm on the ground. Oops, I'm on the ground because I'm only 4 feet up or something as it is. It's like falling off the side of a pool into the shallow end. Oh my God, I hit the bottom.
Well, yeah, exactly. But I think that's when the muscle memory comes into play. My first fall coming back into riding, we were on a trail and the horse in front of me spooked. And so my horse spooked. And she just wasn't underneath me suddenly. And I don't remember coming off. All I remember is suddenly I rolled and stood there and I was like, stuck it. And I felt like a gymnast. Like my muscle memory from when I was a kid, from when I was a dancer, like it kind of came through. That was the last time I had a good fall. Every time after that's been shit. But I think like it's because I don't fall as often as I did when I was a kid, right? And if I were to fall more, or have more experience with how to fall, or maybe practicing emergency dismounting, or all of the above, I think I would feel better about the result of, I would feel more prepared. It's that control thing. I'd feel more prepared.
Yeah. I like the idea, and I have no riding lesson budget in my future, but I do like the idea of prepping better. There have been clinics held in Ocala on how to fall from major, I think event riders have been putting these on. I
think our mutual friend Susan Friedland actually went to one where they had mats and like a little electronic horse and they had to learn to fall.
Yeah, I think you're right. That's something that would also be really fun just to audit. Just watch everybody go tumbling onto mats.
Just laugh at them as they fall.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
I would laugh, but I would laugh
I'm
with
sure
them,
there's a
not at
lot
them,
of
because
laughter
we've all
at
been
these
there.
things. Like nobody's going to be able to hold that back. And people are going to ham it up, right? You're going to have enough people in the audience or in the participants rather, that are going to make it as pratfall as possible. Like splay out.
I love a good audience. I always ham it up with the comedy when someone's watching, because if I don't take myself seriously, then how can you, right? But no, I think that's really interesting. I feel like I would definitely do one of those clinics. I think I could probably use one of those clinics anyway, just because I'm not skilled.
I think I could too. And wouldn't that be great to explain to your family? You're like, oh, I will be gone at a riding clinic all day on Saturday. Oh, what are you doing? Oh, I'm falling off repeatedly. Yes, I'm paying money
on purpose
to fall off over and over again. No one would ever understand it.
Well, and I mean, I don't think my kids would question anything at this point, but
try to imagine like your in-laws at Thanksgiving, how you would explain like what you did over your break. They'd be like, but aren't you supposed to learn to stay on the horse, honey?
Yes, Karen. Thanks for that. Well, and it's so my twins have both fallen off. They fell off when they were younger. Like one was 6, one was 8, right? So they've been there, done that. My oldest daughter, because she started in a therapy riding program, she started at 4. You know, they do everything they can to keep her from falling off. So now she's got this point where she's been riding for 9 years and never fallen off. And I am honestly really frightened. I want her to fall because I feel like when she does, it's going to be such a big deal now. It's like this false sense of security.
Yeah.
And she needs to learn how to like take a hit.
Yeah. That, it's so funny. That happens to kids. There's some kids that have a lucky star and you worry about them. Like, when is something going to go wrong and how are they going to react? And that's a very physical version of that. She said, I think that a falling off clinic would be a tremendous idea for her. That, or get her on a balance beam and have her tumbling off of that a few times.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, she's already so unbalanced because she's got cerebral palsy. So I think people have babied her.
Yeah.
And obviously there's liability. So of course, if she started to fall off, somebody would shove her back on. But like, that could have been such an easy fall, the couple of times that she'd had it. And so like now it's almost like she's a bragging point. And I just feel like that could be, if she falls once, like that could be it for her and she'll decide never to ride again.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that.
And I'm worried.
That's a tough one. That really...
I know. Because it's part of it.
It is. Think about the kids' books. They always kind of work in falling, like when the new kid comes to the riding academy, and there's always some sort of induction to the like Prince of Wales Club or something, and they're like, your first fall, and they throw water on you or they give you a cupcake, or it's definitely baked into the experience. And just like you and I both have like a calendar counting down to the next fall so we can get it out of the way. If that doesn't say it, I don't know what does. Like, you certainly don't drive a car thinking, whoo, haven't had an accident all year, I better be extra careful. There's another one coming soon. And you don't...
Oh my God, if I only rode a horse like I drove a car. I'm so sassy driving, as you know.
You'd be a barrel racing champion. Possibly a champion of many things.
A beast. I would be a beast. I would be unbelievable. But I don't have the same mentality, right? Because in a car, I don't expect to get into an accident. I actually expect to be so awesome I never have to touch another car, right?
You would be like...
My confidence is astounding.
The mounted games, if you were in a car, you would just be like, pole bending, done. Like, no one could touch you. This is a better lifestyle choice for me than anything else that I could be doing, because I can do this forever. I can do this until the last day. I don't want...
That's the dream.
I just... Look at the Queen, right? Look at old Queenie. Okay, she's not galloping cross country, but she's also 100, like 98. Like, she's very old. So I wouldn't have that anticipation. But I wouldn't be mad if at age 70 I'm hopping crossrails. I wouldn't be mad about that at all. I wouldn't be mad if I'm walking.
and actually, I plan. I mean, my retirement, right? When I'm in my... Okay, I'm not going to retire that early, but when I'm even in my 50s, I'll finally have my own farm, right? I'm not going to stop riding when I get my own farm.
You are.
I plan on...
Sorry.
I'll be doing more maintenance, but
yeah.
I mean, I look at all these women who do like the competitive trail rides, which is really what I want to do. They're in their 50s, 60s, 70s. A lot of my clients are older. Right. It really makes me so happy to see them still really just trucking, enjoying their passion. And it makes me think, okay, even though my hips are failing and I probably have arthritis everywhere and I am obviously not fit, like, I can do it too.
Yeah. I'm going to put having older role models and conversations with older riders right up there with my preparation with my sticky pants and my deep-seated saddle, and my judicious check of the weather to make sure that it's not going to be crazy windy, things like that are going to just put me in a position I don't want to be in. And if I'm super, super careful and I accept that falling off every now and then is part of the game, I can be one of those women in my 70s hopping on my horse. That's so much better than the alternative, that I think it's worth the anxiety.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think for me, my preparation's a little different because my horses are pretty bomb-proof when it comes to weather, and they're not super spooky at like sounds and sights and things like that. I think for me, my preparation would be working on balancing exercises for myself in and out of the saddle because I am unbalanced.
I think that's a great idea.
And that's something I could definitely work on. right?
Mm-hmm.
So that way, if my horse does move suddenly out from underneath me, I am with them, right? Like I'm with them, or I can be a little bit more bottom heavy and land hopefully on my feet or roll rather than landing on my back.
Yeah.
And then I think for me, it's like the groundwork. Like the more I do groundwork with my horses, the more I do the liberty work with my horses, the more I fine tune my communication with them. So I catch something before it gets big.
Yeah. Yeah. I like all of your ideas and I'm going to steal them because my stuff is really immediate because I'm not a huge planner because I'm generally overwhelmed all of the time. And so I just say, I'm going to pull my breeches and go outside. And I need to do more of that. I need to do more of that groundwork. I need to do more work on myself. As soon as you said balancing so you move with the horse, my mind went to the centered riding clinics with the little trampolines where, that was always, I used to ride with a centered riding instructor when I was a teenager. And when they would come and do the clinics with the higher up members of the centered riding, I don't want to say cult, organization is a good word for it. And it's a great cult. I mean, it's fantastic as cults go. But there was always that component with a small trampoline, and somebody would hold your hands like you were holding the reins, and then you would work side to side, doing all these different things to maintain your center. And that feels very specifically like something that to come into play as part of moving with your horse to prevent or anticipate the potential for a fall. I like this idea. You've given me something to work on.
No, I think that's great. And just so you know, too, like women, our center of gravity is like below our belly button.
Oh, I think my center of gravity is down by my feet at this point. Like, it's not good.
It's in your hip. That's why you keep landing on it.
Oh, my hips hurt right now.
Well, and so I feel like that's something that we can all work on a little bit. Even at a walk at home, you could do nice, you can even get one of those big balls and just work on your core. Who was it? I was talking to someone the other day and they were sitting on their equicizer while on a Zoom call.
Holy cow.
And it's like, you could do all these things at home too before you even get to the barn. That helps you keep you stronger.
Balls pop on you? Because I have.
Have I had one of the balls pop on me?
Yeah.
Is that what you just said? No.
Okay, so.
But I'm guessing you have.
Time.
Can I hear the story?
Oh my God. So I was with my first social media job. So it was my first office job. And I was in our office with my, graphic designer team and all of these professional people. And I felt very pro for the first time in my entire life. I had an iMac and a network password and a dress on. And I was sitting on a ball because for the first time in my life, I was sitting at work and it hurt. And there was a bang and I was on the floor. And I just sat there on the floor while everyone turned like, what? And God bless them, no one laughed until I did, which I deeply appreciate.
Was that your first day?
No, thank God. Oh my God, no.
Oh, thank God.
It was like 3 months in, probably. I was pretty established. Everyone knew me. And yeah.
I don't know. I'm just like imagining this, like, if that's not a metaphor for riding horses, I don't know what is.
It was
like suddenly they're underneath you 1 minute and then the next you're on the ground.
You know what that is too? That's proof it can happen anywhere. And there's no point in not riding because you're afraid of falling because your goddamn desk chair could kill you too.
Might as well die doing something fun, God damn it.
Exactly.
Wow. No, I've never had that happen to me, but I actually did see a video because I'm taking my trailer in to get assessed, and they were like, whatever you do, don't kick the tires. And I was like, what? Apparently you don't kick the tires. You got to take like a hammer or something like that, because if the tire goes and it blows up, you're going to lose a hand.
Oh my God. That's very scary.
Like the PSI is so big. Yeah. Well, and again, this is from like a truck driver,
Right.
right? Telling me this, and I'm like, oh,
Oh,
I've been doing this for like 2
truck
years.
drivers also let their tires go until they explode on the road anyway.
I mean, all over the road.
Yeah. So they kind of have a different relationship with rubber than we do, where they're used to it being desiccated and falling apart.
I know, but that scared the bejesus out of me. So now I don't want to go kick my tires. Now I'm going to take like a tool and just poke them real heavy.
Oh, I'm going to hire someone
from
to
like
do
a
it.
foot
I don't want to
back.
go anywhere near that now. I'm going to get a kid.
Oh no, I'm gonna take it into a place, but I just don't know if I should drive it there. So I got to check the tires before I take it off property because it's been sitting for about 8 months.
Yeah.
But I don't want to start taking Delight off property, which I'm planning on doing. Hence, this is the theme of this episode because I'm terrified of the unknown. But yes, I'm going to have someone come and maintain the trailer. And in fact, who is it? Horses in the Morning just published an episode all about trailer maintenance and how often it should get done. So I was like, oh, I'm real bad at that.
Yeah.
I need to do that. You have a truck, I have a trailer. It seems like a
That's
dream.
the way it always works out.
We're two halves of a whole, Natalie. This segment is brought to you by Redingote Equestrian. While they are best known for their jumpsuits, they have released an amazing schooling collection of shirts and breeches with color blocking design for the ultimate comfort and flattering fit. The jogger breeches are comfortable enough to go from barn to the street with an adjustable drawstring waist and soft material that is durable and yet super flattering. Mix and match with your favorite Redingote shirt, available in a variety of colors that you can wear alone or under your favorite Redingote outerwear. I want to shift gears a little bit because lately in social media, I've been seeing more and more people calling out toxicity or terrible traditions in the horse world. You know, barn drama, or like actually on social media calling out people in comments for the things that they do rather than just asking a question. And I was just wondering if you had a thought about whether it's helpful or hurtful for the equestrian world as a whole to keep like air our dirty laundry like this so publicly.
Right. I think that there's a way to do it. And I don't believe social media is a constructive way to sort of engage in social combat. Does that make sense? There are established ways to make statements. You can even, write a blog if something really offends you. You don't have to get into comments and be an anonymous random person that doesn't know somebody or anything about their background and suddenly say, this is wrong, this is cruel, you're a bad human, here's why. And that's what I see on social media. And that is 100% ineffective. Nobody is going to read a comment on a picture of them riding their horse and say, oh, I had no idea, I will change my ways forever. Does that work when you go to dinner and your racist uncle says something and you call him out on it? Does he say, oh, I had no idea I was being racist, I will never tell that joke again? No, of course it doesn't. That's not how people learn.
He like drills down and gets more in his
he's
ways.
like, wow, I had no idea. It was so much fun being racist around you because it freaks you out, right? So
now he knows your buttons.
People do not learn through conflict, just like horses do not learn through conflict. So making educated statements about yourself is a great way to not call people out, but sort of make people maybe think about the way that they are acting and behaving in their own lives. It's a repetitive process. We're a hidebound traditionalist society. Horse people more than any other. We do things because our trainers did them. And we worshipped our trainers, whether they deserved it or not. And then as we grow up, and we encounter different horses and different ways of doing things, we all come to our own conclusions. There's no governing body or a textbook, that's really saying this is how horses work.
It's like the school of life. I don't know. I'm a big proponent of living by example.
Yep, that's it. That's a much easier way of saying what I just said.
But I'm in complete agreement with you. Like I feel like I'm not going to now listen, I love good gossip. Okay.
Of course.
but I don't want to be the gossip. I don't want to start the gossip. I don't even want to spread the gossip. And on social media, it can be such a toxic place, but it can be such a wonderful place too. And I feel like there's some people out there who are leading the charge and trying to change our relationship with horses for the better, or educate, like with the new saddle fit kind of way of doing things, right? It's different than the old way, which has been done for so long, and training and all of these wonderful things. It's changing. And those people do take a lot of heat, which is unfortunate because there are some people who really don't like change. And that's okay, because no one's telling you that you personally can't do it that way. We're just saying like, hey, did you know there's a better way of doing things?
Yeah.
And yeah, I feel like even publicly, if I were to get a troll, right, which every once in a while it happens, somebody says something snotty or whatever, I don't respond to that. I don't send a video in response and like amp it up.
Right.
And I feel like that makes it so much worse. It's like, yeah, okay, we don't have, what I say is not going to solve that problem. It's like talking to a wall. And again, this, as you said, this anonymous person. So, all that being said, I did one time get really heated because someone said something about my daughter and I flipped out. I was like, listen, you're going to shut that shit down because she did not ask for your opinion and you don't know anything from a 30-second video, and you're welcome to stay here. But if you do any more of that, then you're free to leave.
Right.
And that was it. And it was in a comment, and you know, I don't think it was meant with ill intent, but it's one thing to say something about me and I'm happy to take it. Like, I'm a big girl. I just feel like there's a lot of change in the equestrian world that's happening right now. And I think it's any industry. There's bad eggs and there's good eggs. So it's just really hard to see it kind of wash out on social media. And it's not really giving us a good look.
It's not. Social media is a failure. Let's be real. I owe my entire career to social media. I can straight up say it's a huge freaking failure, and I wish it would go away. And also, thank you. I love my job, because public negativity sucks, and people just keep engaging with it without any sort of self-awareness that they would hate it if it was turned on them. I don't understand that logic. If I want to be negative about somebody, and believe me, I enjoy being negative about somebody as much as the next person.
You have some great opinions.
I private chat that shit just like I would have done if I was whispering in somebody's ear when I was 15. And I'm not afraid to admit that because I know everybody does it. We all have opinions. But you don't have to be a public jerk about them either. You could just mind your own business and whisper to your friends in private. Or you could even be a bigger person. Not that I know how to do that. You could be a bigger person and just ignore it. You know, you have the capability. You could yell at your husband about it, which I do occasionally also. But to go public and and go after people you don't, or people you do know, God, why? What are you doing? What? Don't you have things to do? Don't we all have just way too much stuff to do to be causing fights? It's so strange.
And this is something I tell my kids all the time. I said, be careful what you write, because tone in a message like a text or an email has gotten me into more trouble than anything else, because people assume I'm saying something in a way I'm not intending.
The whole internet movement, going back however long, is that it has been a written word medium. And even now that everybody wants us to make videos, we comment with written words, right? But the average reading comprehension in the United States, not to mention the world at large, is something like 5th grade. It's not high. So you have a lot of people who are not necessarily schooled in how to write, how to understand nuance, how to read tone, and they're writing and reading all of the time, and misunderstanding each other and making bad points and causing trouble because it's not their forte.
And it's so easy to do it. Social media has made it so easy for us to put our opinions out there. And so I agree. I think I think it's kind of toxic when it comes to like calling other people out on social media and doing it in a public way, because there are better ways to do it. And I don't know about you, but I get real defensive if someone criticizes me and comes at me real hard, right?
Yeah, and
come to me
have that
privately.
right.
Come to me and tell me that you have concerns, or that there was something that you didn't understand, or that maybe you saw something and you weren't sure about it. Like, let's talk all day about it.
Sure.
But don't come at me publicly and be like, you're terrible, you don't know how to ride, or, and you know, I'm just making things up because people assume that because I'm a timid rider that I'm not capable, which is not the case. But it can be really hurtful. And I think, like, if we want to make the equestrian world better, we've got to all be better. Like, it starts with us.
Right. And if you can't build somebody up, then just move on and ignore them, because you're not getting points. There's no point system. You're not going to get cash for comments. Those days are past. So,
well, and it really shows their insecurity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really does.
Go live your life, man.
Yep.
I'm going to live mine.
Go live your life. End of story.
Adulting win of the week, Natalie. Do you have one?
Adulting win of the week. I had the farrier out. And
I mean, that's a good thing.
I didn't cry. I used to trim my own hooves.
There's a severe lack of farriers right now.
No, I didn't know that, really. Maybe because I live in the horse capital of the world, it's not really an issue.
Yeah. I just talked to my farrier because he came out this week too. Not to digress, because I'll make it brief, but he's overwhelmed.
Really?
He's got over 750 horses on a 6-week schedule, and people are like, and we have a lot of farriers in New Jersey, but like either bad clients, right? Their horses aren't ready, or they're dangerous, or all these things. But like, farriers are getting tired. They're getting broken because they're, you know, basically like their back is in an awkward position all these days, or whatever. So up here, we're actually really struggling to find good farriers. And I asked him, I said, well, when I go to Vermont, he goes, ha, 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 ha. Good luck. He said, I might have to see if I can find one for you.
Wow.
Like, that's the conversation.
My thing is, I did used to trim my own horses when I had brood mares and just like one project horse at a time. I learned to trim. I studied it really hard. I didn't study like out of school, although I would have loved to have done that.
That's really cool.
I find it very satisfying. And so one of the first things I did when Ben arrived was I made sure that I had a set of tools and I was ready to go. And then I immediately hurt my back, not trimming, but doing, you know, sitting, probably living my life. I hurt my back. My sciatic nerve has been a complete disaster all summer. And so I had to make the very grown-up decision of paying somebody to do a job that I enjoy doing myself, because I physically can't do it. Sucks to recognize that. It sucks more to pay for it. But but
you always wanted to have a guy. You wanted to have a guy to do things.
And now I have a girl.
That's your guy.
A girl to do my horse's hooves, which is
better.
And she's super cool, super nice. And she greeted me the other morning. She got out of her car, and I walked Ben up, and she said, "Hey, Natalie." And I said, "Hey, Izzy." And she said, "Do you write books?" And I said, yes, I do write books. She said, "I was with a friend the other day, and she had a book, and I kept looking at the name on that cover, and I said, I think I know that person." And her friend said, "Oh yeah, this is the first book I've read by her. It's pretty good. She really knows about horses." And then she said, "And then I texted you the next day," and I said, "Oh my God, I have to ask her. That's the same name." So I said, "Oh my God, I am amongst my people."
That is cool. You are a celebrity. Like, that's a cool win. So you had a farrier come out and she recognized you from a book.
Isn't that wild?
How cool is that?
Yeah, my horse famous dreams.
That's
they're
pretty
coming
awesome.
true.
Hey, you know, if that's not a win, I don't know what is. So that is pretty cool, though. And I think it's pretty awesome that you have a female farrier, because there's not as many of them as there are. I do know of several, but it's still very much a male dominated.
It is cool. And she's really accomplished. She's very good at her job. we talked about a particularly horrifying Instagram picture from Spring Hill Equine, which is a nearby veterinary agency, and they have a pretty established social media presence where they post like, what's going on here? And it's some horrific photo. And then the next day they post an update. And there was one that had just half of the hoof debrided, and it was just, it was nauseating. And I said, I'm really worried about white line, and these pictures from Spring Hill are not helping. And she said, oh, that one with half the hoof taken off? I said, yeah. She said, yeah, I worked on that. I was like, well, that's impressive. So I actually am less worried about white line now because I know that she really recognizes it. It was a great way of testing your farrier's knowledge.
I have a couple of things I'm pretty excited about this week, but I'm going to go ahead and stick to the theme that you started here because, as I said, my farrier did come out. Ferris has always had perfect pony feet. I mean, he's barefoot. He's clearly God's favorite. And Delight, however, we've been struggling with. And about a year ago, I put 4 shoes on him, and his pain level has reduced significantly. He's built muscle wonderfully. But I had to fire my old farrier because, well, he was super inconsistent, and he had thrush, he had white line disease, all this stuff, and he never told me.
Oh, I've had, yeah.
And yeah, right? And so 2 cycles with this new farrier, 2 cycles. He has now labeled him with good feet. He had enough hoof that he could change his angles. Ooh. He has no more thrush, no more white line disease. Oh. And he told me too, he hadn't been taking on any new clients, but he made an exception for us. And I legit was like, what's your address? I'm sending you like wine. I'm sending you like, I will bribe you to come here every 6 weeks. But like, I am so flipping happy that like finally after the 2 years of like Delight's feet being terrible, they're not only good, but they're on the road to being great. And I'm like, it's a huge relief.
That is fantastic. I would absolutely, if not send a fruit basket, put that man on your Christmas list. Like, needs to know.
For sure.
Valued.
Oh, he's going to get a tip.
Yeah, for sure.
And I give him cash whenever possible, you know. But my God, I told him, I was like, I'm not going to hug you because I know it's really inappropriate. But I was like, thank you so much. I'm really so appreciative.
That's a huge win.
Huge win. Huge win. So yeah, so it's kind of funny that we had a win that was very uncommon this week. But I know. But that's how it goes. We're like 2 sides of the same coin there, Natalie.
We are, and I'm very happy both sides of this coin said good farrier instead of one of us getting a bad one.
Thank you for being a little weird with us, Horse Girl. If you like what you hear, make sure to subscribe to our podcast on your player of choice. Follow us on Instagram at Adulting with Horses Podcast, or even better, join our Adulting with Horses Clubhouse on Facebook, where you can become part of the show. Also, it's a great place to meet other horse crazy women.